The first power, visionary insight. This is the spiritual eye that pierces the veil of illusion. It's not about seeing with the physical gaze but perceiving the invisible threads that connect all things. Like the ancient oracle at Delphi, whose visions guided kings, your insight cuts through the noise of modern life to reveal the essence of situations. When others see chaos, you recognize patterns where they stumble, and problems, you uncover solutions hidden in plain sight. This is the power to discern moral clarity in a world of gray areas, to read the unspoken language of souls, and to make decisions that echo with divine wisdom. It's a responsibility to lead others beyond surface appearances to the stark realities that nurture spiritual growth. The second power, creative genesis. Channeling the divine spark of creation, this power births ideas that are more than innovations, they are spiritual blueprints. Like Bezalel, the artisan who crafted the tabernacle through divine inspiration, your creations carry the imprint of higher purpose. Whether in art, science, or social change, you don't just make things, you manifest transformations that align with the universe's fundamental energies. A business strategy becomes a vessel for ethical progress, a scientific breakthrough a nod to universal order, a community project a healing balm for the collective soul. This power calls you to be a conduit through which divine inspiration flows into the world, each act of creation a prayer, each innovation a sermon. The third power, resilient spirit. This is the divine armor that turns trials into stepping stones. Resilience here is not mere survival but spiritual alchemy. When others falter, you rise stronger, transmuting adversity into wisdom. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, your endurance is fueled by a core belief in your destiny. Personal crises, professional collapses, or spiritual desolations, each becomes a crucible where your resolve is refined. You don't just weather storms, you emerge from them with a deeper connection to the divine, a light that inspires others to find their own strength. This power reminds you that every wound is a gateway to greater wholeness, every setback a reorientation toward your true path. The fourth power, influential presence. Your very being becomes a catalyst for change, a silent force that reshapes environments. Influence here is not manipulation but the natural radiance of a life lived in alignment with truth. When you choose integrity over convenience, kindness over apathy, you set in motion ripples that awaken others. In communities, you become the hub of unity. In workplaces, the architect of ethical transformation. Like a shepherd leading flocks, you don't command but nurture, helping others discover their own gifts. This power is a sacred trust. Every action is a statement, every choice a seed that grows into collective evolution. The fifth power, healing alchemy. Transcending physical remedies, this is the power to mend emotional fractures and restore spiritual harmony. Like Joseph, who turned betrayal into reconciliation, you see beyond hurts to the wounded hearts beneath. A gentle word can unpeel layers of resentment, a listening ear heal the divide in relationships. You might reconcile feuding communities, mend broken families, or restore trust in fragmented teams. This is not just fixing what is broken but resurrecting what was always meant to be whole, each act of healing a step toward universal wholeness. Your touch carries the frequency of divine compassion, reminding others that redemption is always possible. The sixth power, courageous destiny. This is the fortitude to walk uncharted paths, fueled by spiritual conviction. Courage here is not the absence of fear but the choice to act despite it, like Joan of Arc, who challenged empires guided by divine vision. You stand for truth when it's easier to stay silent, defend the oppressed when it risks personal loss, and pursue purpose over comfort. Whether confronting systemic injustice or embracing a radical life change, your courage is a torch that lights the way for others. It's a reminder that significance lies not in safety but in answering the call to transform the world through bold, purposeful action. The seventh power, divine love. This is the all-encompassing love that mirrors the divine essence, unconditional, sacrificial, and transformative. It sees beyond flaws to the divine spark in every soul, forgiving not out of duty but out of recognition of shared humanity. Like a shepherd risking wilderness to find a lost sheep, you set aside personal needs to tend to others' wounds. This love builds bridges between ideologies, races, and classes, turning division into unity. It's a self-multiplying gift. Each act of kindness enriches both giver and receiver, aligning you closer to the divine. In a world shadowed by hatred, your love becomes a beacon, proving that compassion is the most powerful force in the universe. These seven powers are not static gifts but living energies, meant to be cultivated through practice and devotion. They form a sacred arsenal, equipping you to transcend the ordinary and embody the extraordinary. As you wield them with humility, courage, and wisdom, remember that you are not just a participant in the divine narrative but a master storyteller, shaping reality one inspired act at a time. The world awaits your light. Will you answer the call? The first power, visionary insight, the spiritual eye of divination. The oracle within, decoding the cosmic language. The power of insight is not a passive ability but an active communion with the divine order. Like the priests of ancient temples who interpreted omens, you possess the gift to read the subtle signs woven into the fabric of existence. This is not mere intuition but a trained spiritual perception. Imagine a master astronomer who sees beyond stars to the gravitational forces shaping galaxies. So too do you perceive the invisible laws governing human hearts and worldly events. In meditation, this power reveals itself as a sudden clarity during stillness. When the mind quiets, patterns emerge from the chaos of thoughts. You might sit in a crowded room and sense the emotional undercurrents beneath idle chatter, or study a problem and intuit the solution hidden in its energetic blueprint. This is the third eye spoken of in mystic traditions, not a physical organ but a cognitive faculty honed through spiritual discipline. The ethical compass, navigating moral complexities. True insight grants more than foresight, it bestows a moral radar that transcends cultural norms. Consider the biblical story of Solomon, whose wisdom resolved disputes by seeing through to the core of truth. Similarly, your insight cuts through the fog of competing interests. When faced with a decision, you don't just weigh pros and cons but sense the path that aligns with divine justice. This manifests in daily life as a refusal to compromise on integrity, even when convenience beckons. You might walk away from a lucrative deal that feels ethically off-kilter, or speak up against a popular opinion that contradicts your spiritual knowing. Such choices are not acts of stubbornness but expressions of your role as a guardian of truth, for insight without action is like a lighthouse without light. Cultivating the visionary mind. To deepen this power, engage in practices that sharpen spiritual perception. Dream alchemy, keep a journal to decode symbolic messages in your dreams, for sleep often peels back the veil of waking illusion. Nature meditation, spend time in wilderness, observing how trees grow toward light or rivers carve paths. These are metaphors for divine order. Silent reflection, set aside daily moments to sit in stillness, asking, what am I not seeing? What truth lies beneath the surface? As your insight grows, you'll notice how even mundane events carry spiritual significance. A chance encounter might reveal a lesson, a random conversation spark a revelation. This is the power of the chosen one, to see the sacred in the ordinary, the divine in the daily. The second power, creative genesis, channeling the divine blueprint. The artisan of the absolute, from inspiration to manifestation. The power of creation is a co-creatorship with the divine, a participation in the ongoing act of cosmic formation. Bezalel, the biblical craftsman, didn't just build the tabernacle, he translated divine visions into physical reality. So too do you receive inspired ideas that feel less like personal thoughts and more like downloads from a higher source. Consider the moment when an idea strikes you with such force that it feels urgent, perhaps a song that writes itself, a business model that solves a systemic problem, or a charity that addresses a hidden need. These are not products of mere imagination but spiritual blueprints. In meditation, you might experience this as a vivid mental image or a compelling urge to create, accompanied by a sense of rightness that defies logic. Creation as spiritual practice. Your creations carry a signature of divine energy, evident in their ability to inspire beyond functionality. A painter's work might not just depict a landscape but evoke the transcendence of nature. A scientist's invention might not just solve a problem but reveal a new law of the universe. This is why your projects often outlive you or touch people in unexpected ways. They are infused with a purpose greater than your individual self. In business, this power transforms entrepreneurship into a sacred act. You don't just seek profit but design ventures that uplift communities. In art, you don't just create beauty but channel emotions that heal. Even mundane tasks like cooking or gardening become opportunities to infuse love into matter, for creation is not limited to grand gestures but resides in the intention behind every act. Unlocking the creative flow. To harness this power, establish practices that honor your role as a divine conduit. Ritual of initiation. Before starting a project, spend time in prayer or meditation, asking, what does this creation seek to become? Embrace the unplanned, allow space for divine accidents. Sometimes the best ideas emerge from mistakes or detours. Honor the cycle, recognize that creation has seasons, periods of inspiration, action, rest, and reflection. Don't force the process. When you create from this place, you'll notice how obstacles become guides. A failed attempt might reveal a better path, a critic's feedback might point to a hidden flaw. This is because your creative power is not isolated but part of a larger ecosystem, where every setback is a divine course correction. The third power, resilient spirit transmuting trials into triumph. The alchemy of adversity, when fire becomes gold. Resilience for the chosen one is not about bouncing back but about transforming pain into purpose. Like Job in the Bible, who endured loss but emerged with deeper wisdom, your trials are not punishments but initiations. Imagine a blacksmith pounding iron. The blows that seem destructive are actually shaping it into a tool of strength. So too do challenges forge your spirit into a vessel for divine work. This resilience manifests as a paradox: the more you're tested, the more your faith grows. You might experience a health crisis that leads you to discover a healing practice, or a betrayal that teaches you the power of forgiveness. These are not coincidences but sacred exchanges, where worldly loss is traded for spiritual gain. The Phoenix Principle, rising from ashes. True resilience goes beyond endurance. It's about emerging from suffering transformed. After a setback, you don't just return to normal, you evolve. Consider the story of Joseph, sold into slavery by his brothers yet rising to save nations. His journey shows that detours can be the shortest path to destiny. In your life, this might look like starting over after a career collapse, finding love again after heartbreak, or rebuilding community after division. Each time, you bring back lessons that make you wiser, kinder, stronger. Others might marvel at your ability to bounce back, but you know it's not bounce, it's transcendence. Practices for cultivating resilience. To strengthen this power, integrate these spiritual disciplines. The practice of surrender. When facing crisis, instead of fighting, ask, what is this teaching me? How is this serving my higher good? Shadow work meditation. Sit with your pain, not to wallow but to understand its gift. Often, the darkest emotions hold the brightest insights. Communion with ancestors. Study the stories of those who overcame adversity. Their struggles become your spiritual muscle memory. Remember, resilience is not a trait but a relationship with the divine. When you see challenges as collaborative efforts between you and the universe, even the harshest storms become opportunities to prove your faith. And each time you emerge stronger, you become a living testimony to the power of spiritual perseverance, inspiring others to trust their own journeys. The fourth power, influential presence, being the change you wish to see. The magnetic force of truth, leading by being. Influence for the chosen one is not about persuasion but about presence. Like Jesus, whose mere existence inspired radical change, your impact arises from the alignment between your beliefs and your actions. It's a silent radiation. People don't just hear your words, they feel your integrity. This manifests in subtle ways. A colleague might confide in you because they sense your trustworthiness, a stranger might open up because your energy feels safe, a community might rally behind you because they see you walk your talk. It's not about charisma or charm but about embodying truth so fully that others are naturally drawn to it. The ripple effect, small actions, big impact. Your influence doesn't require grand stages, it lives in daily choices. Choosing to forgive instead of holding a grudge ripples through relationships. Standing up for a marginalized person shifts the energy of a room. Practicing what you preach transforms your family, workplace, or neighborhood. Consider the story of Esther, who risked her life to save her people. Her influence came not from power but from her willingness to act on her truth. Similarly, your influence grows when you prioritize principle over popularity, even if it means standing alone. Over time, these small acts create a current that can move mountains. Cultivating influential energy. To deepen this power, commit to these practices. Integrity audit. Regularly ask, am I living in alignment with my highest values? Where am I compromising? Silent leadership. Instead of talking over others, create space for them to speak. Sometimes the most influential act is listening. Vibrational alignment. Spend time in nature or sacred spaces to recharge your energetic field, for influence is as much about what you radiate as what you say. Remember, true influence is a reflection of your connection to the divine. When you act from a place of spiritual centeredness, your words and deeds carry a weight that transcends logic. People may not always understand why they follow you, but they feel the truth in your being. This is the power of the chosen one, to be a living testament to the divine, inspiring others not through force but through the magnetic pull of authenticity. The fifth power, healing alchemy, mending the world from within. The medicine of the soul, beyond physical cure. The power of healing for the chosen one is a holistic ministry, addressing not just symptoms but the root causes of suffering. Like the healers in the New Testament, you don't just fix problems, you restore wholeness. This includes physical ailments, emotional traumas, and spiritual disconnections, for all suffering is a form of separation from the divine. In practice, this might mean comforting a grieving friend not with platitudes but with presence, mediating a conflict by seeing the humanity in all sides, or creating a safe space for someone to confront their demons. You have a unique ability to see through the layers of pain to the light within, reminding others of their inherent wholeness. The art of reconciliation, making whole what is broken. Healing often requires reconciliation with others, with oneself, and with the divine. Think of the prodigal son's father, who didn't just forgive but celebrated the return, mending the family's heart. Similarly, your healing touch can restore relationships that seem beyond repair, not by ignoring harm but by acknowledging it and creating a path forward. This power extends to collective healing. You might work to bridge racial divides, heal environmental damage, or reconcile ideological enemies. In such cases, your role is to be a bridge builder, using compassion as the mortar that connects broken pieces. Practices for cultivating healing energy. To develop this power, engage in these spiritual disciplines. The prayer of presence, when encountering suffering, instead of fixing, offer silent prayer, may I be a channel of healing here. Shadow integration, work on your own wounds, for you cannot give what you have not received. Healing begins within. Energy medicine, learn practices like Reiki, meditation, or breathwork to become more attuned to energetic imbalances. Remember, healing is not a one-time act but a continuous practice. Every time you choose love over fear, compassion over judgment, you become a healing force in the world. Your presence alone can soothe frayed nerves, your words can unburden heavy hearts, and your actions can restore faith in humanity. This is the sacred duty of the chosen one, to be a vessel through which divine healing flows, mending the world one soul at a time. The sixth power, courageous destiny, walking the path less traveled. The divine warrior, fighting for righteousness. Courage for the chosen one is not recklessness but spiritual fortitude, the willingness to act on truth despite fear. Like David facing Goliath, you confront giants not because you're invincible but because you trust in a higher purpose. This courage often manifests as a holy disregard for worldly consequences when faced with a moral imperative. You might feel called to speak out against injustice, even if it risks your reputation, to pursue a purpose-driven career, even if it means financial uncertainty, or to end a toxic relationship, even if it leaves you alone. These are not easy choices, but they are necessary for staying aligned with your divine path. The alchemy of fear, transforming dread into determination. True courage doesn't eliminate fear, it transforms it. Consider Joan of Arc, who heard voices urging her to lead an army. She was likely terrified, yet her faith overcame her terror. Similarly, your courage grows when you recognize fear as a sign that you're stepping into your greatness, not a reason to retreat. In daily life, this might look like starting a project that feels overwhelming, confronting a loved one with difficult truth, or embracing a change that disrupts your comfort. Each time you act despite fear, you prove to yourself and the universe that you're ready for your calling. Practices for cultivating courage. To strengthen this power, incorporate these disciplines. The leap of faith, regularly take small risks that align with your values. Sign up for a class, speak at an event, offer a new idea. Meditation on mortality, contemplate your own death not morbidly but to gain perspective. What do I want to have achieved when my time is up? Communion with heroes, study the lives of courageous souls. Their stories will fuel your own resolve. Remember, courage is a muscle that grows with use. The more you trust the divine guidance within, the easier it becomes to take bold action. You are not alone on this path. Every time you summon the courage to follow your calling, you join a lineage of chosen ones who dared to walk against the tide. Your courage is not just for yourself but for all those who will be inspired by your example to find their own strength. The seventh power, divine love, the core of the chosen one's being. Agape in action, love beyond sentimentality. The power of love for the chosen one is not a fleeting emotion but a divine force. Agape, the unconditional love spoken of in the New Testament. It's the love that sees the image of God in every human, regardless of their actions. Like the Good Samaritan, who helped a stranger without expectation, you love not because others deserve it but because love is your natural state. This love manifests as compassion for the unlovable, forgiveness for the repentant, and kindness for the indifferent. You might find yourself helping someone who has wronged you, standing up for an enemy, or loving a difficult family member, acts that seem irrational to the world but are logical in the kingdom of spirit. Love as a transformative force. Divine love is not passive, it's a catalyst for change. When you love someone unconditionally, you don't just accept them, you see their highest potential and encourage them to embody it. This is the love that parents have for children, teachers for students, healers for clients. It believes in possibility even when others see only flaws. Consider the story of Mary Magdalene, whose love for Jesus transformed her life. Similarly, your love can awaken others to their own divinity, inspiring them to change, grow, and love in return. This is how love becomes a self-perpetuating cycle, healing the world one heart at a time. Practices for cultivating divine love. To deepen this power, commit to these spiritual exercises. The meditation of universal love. Each day, spend time sending love to yourself, for self-love is the foundation. A loved one. A stranger. Someone who has hurt you. Acts of sacrificial love. Regularly set aside your needs to serve others. Volunteer, help a neighbor, listen without agenda. Mindful compassion. When encountering someone who triggers you, pause and ask, what pain is driving their behavior? How can I respond with love? Remember, divine love is not a weakness but the greatest strength. It allows you to see beyond the ego's defenses to the soul's truth, to forgive without forgetting, and to love without reservation. As you cultivate this love, you'll notice how it transforms your relationships, your work, and your entire experience of life. You become a living expression of the divine's love for humanity, a beacon of light in a world that often feels dark. This is the ultimate power of the chosen one, to love as God loves, unconditionally and eternally. The integration of powers, weaving the sacred tapestry. The chosen one's toolkit, when powers converge. The 7 powers are not isolated gifts but interconnected aspects of your divine nature. Insight guides your creativity, resilience fuels your influence, healing deepens your courage, and love is the thread that weaves them all together. Like the petals of a flower, each power supports the others, forming a complete expression of your spiritual purpose.